All right, this is the second part of Unit 12-2, Arcs and Chords. Within a circle are congruent circles. Congruent arcs are two arcs that have the same measure in the figure. Okay, so you've got arc ST and UV. You know they're congruent because they're angles. Central angles are congruent. So let's look at some theorems. In a circle are congruent circles. Congruent central angles have the congruent chords. Okay, so central angle EAD is congruent to central angle EAB because of your markings. Therefore, chord DE is congruent to chord CB. All right? If you have congruent chords, right here you start with chord DE congruent to chord CB because of your markings, then you know that the arcs of measurement ED and the arc of measurement CB are also congruent. If you start with congruent arcs, then you know their angles, their central angles are congruent. Or you can even say their chords are congruent. So let's apply some of this. Okay, find the measurement of arc WS. So we're looking for this measurement right here. Well, we've got these two chords in the same circle that are congruent, so we can set them equal to each other to find out what N is. Okay, so N is 11, but that's not what we want. We want the measurement of arc WS, which is 7N plus 11. So substitute in for your variable. Therefore, that measurement is 88 degrees. Okay, this is telling us that the two circles are congruent and that your central angles there are congruent. So we need to find the chord NM, this chord right here. Well, because the central angles are congruent, your circles are congruent, then those chords are congruent. So we can set them equal to each other. Solve for T. Let's back up here. I'm jumping ahead and going ahead and putting my answer there. Okay, so T equals 3. We're trying to find NM, which is 5T plus 1. Substitute in for your variable there. And because oh my goodness gracious. I need to just go home and give up on this. 5 times 3 is 15. 15 plus 1 is 16. Class, because this is a segment, you don't need a degrees on it, okay? Alright, so let's see what this is telling us. This is telling us that we have this ray, PT, and it bisects central angle RPS. So what does that tell us? That tells us that these two angles are congruent. Well, if those two angles are congruent, then those chords are congruent. So we can set them equal to each other. Let's see if I can make this one without making a single error. All right, so let's get our variables to one side. Trying to find RT. Well, RT is 6x. Substitute in for your variable. So So RT equals 12, and we were talking about a chord, therefore there is no degree sign. And yay, no computation error. All right, let's move on. All right, we got some theorems here. In a circle, if a radius is perpendicular to a chord, then it bisects the chord and its arc, okay? So, we have this radius bisecting chord EF. It is perpendicular, therefore it bisects these two, and it bisects these arcs also. In a circle, the perpendicular bisector of a chord is a radius. So it's kind of like the converse. If you know that this chord is congruent, therefore you know that this is the radius because it bisects that chord. Or you could say, instead of AK is the radius, you could say JK is the diameter. Okay, so let's see what we're going to do on this one. We need to find NP. We need to find NP, okay? So, this is 9, this is 8. So what I can do here is I can make this triangle, make this a right angle, okay? This is center to the side, not drawn to scale, of course. Well, this is center to the side. 8 plus 9 is 17, so then this here is also 17. So what I have, I'll redraw that triangle, is I have 17 and I have 8. And we can find, we can find what this is, which is the NS, which is half of the segment we're trying to find by using Pythagorean theorem. So that would be 17 squared minus your leg squared will give me that second leg squared. Okay? And when you do that and solve all this, x is going to be 25. No, it's not. It's going to be 15. Because you're going to get x squared is 225, therefore x is 15. Okay? So, if this is 15, that is this segment right here, well, this also has to be 15. So, NP equals 30. And that looks like that's it. Have a good one.